Hey, welcome to this week's edition of Thursdays with Mike. And okay, I'm not lying, and I'm also not wearing the same clothes a week later. If you pay attention to those kind of things, I'm just actually Loin and I are headed up to Coeur d'Alene with some friends next week, taking actually a whole week off as opposed to just a weekend. And I'm not driving, which is fantastic. So it means I'll be doing a lot of reading and sleeping alternatively as we make that trip there and back again. And I'm just going to take a little hiatus from the statement of faith. We'll continue on with that. I picked up this book by Edwin H. Friedman. It's called Friedman's Fables, and it was actually a book mentioned by my former mentee, and student and companion, I guess you could say, very much in the Doctor Who sense. She tends to call me the Doctor, and I call her Pond, Abby Wilhelm. And she was asking for some current book titles, and so I gave her some as far as stuff that I'm reading, and she returned the favor and mentioned this one as being an exquisite collection of fables and stories. And so I went ahead, ordered a used hard copy, and I've just been savoring these. So I'm going to read one. It's one I just happened to read this morning, and I thought this would be a nice change of pace, also be shorter. And so I'm going to read the story. You can think of it as, well, a fable is a teaching story. It's kind of like a parable, except it's... Well, it could be a little bit more fanciful, fantasy, fables. You have talking animals and so forth. Parables. Well, the Bible has talking animals. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, anyway, sorry. Fables tend to be more fantasy, talking animals, and such. Parables, they tend to have this more human story, kind of what you'd expect to see happening. A lot of them. Anyway, all of that to say, I loved this story this morning. Okay, just loved it. So I'm going to read it too. Let it be for you wherever you happen to be in your life right now. I was just laughing out loud and just like, oh my gosh, really, because the timely nature of it. And I almost didn't read this story this morning, but it just where I am in my life and some of the conversations that I've been having, it was like, wow, oh my, wow, what a beautiful story. So here we go. It's called The Friendly Forest by Edwin Friedman. Okay, so this is Freeman reading Friedman. Once upon a time, in the friendly forest, there lived a lamb who loved to graze and frolic about. One day, a tiger came to the forest and said to the animals, "I would like to live among you." They were delighted. For, unlike some of the other forests, they had no tiger in their woods. The lamb, however, had some apprehensions, you think, which, being a lamb, she sheepishly expressed to her friends. "But," said they, "do not worry. We will talk to the tiger and explain that one of the conditions for living in this forest is that you must also let the other animals live in the forest." So the lamb went about her life as usual, but it was not long before the tiger began to growl and make threatening gestures and menacing motions. Each time the frightened lamb went to her friends and said, "It's very uncomfortable for me here in the forest." But her friends reassured her, "Do not worry, that's just the way tigers behave." Every day, as she went about her life, the lamb tried to remember this advice, hoping that the tiger would find someone else to growl at. And it is probably correct to say that the tiger did not really spend all or even most of its time stalking the lamb. Still, the lamb found it increasingly difficult to remove the tiger from her thoughts. Sometimes she would just catch it out of the corner of her eye, but that seemed enough to disconcert her for the day, even if the cat were asleep. Soon the lamb found that she was actually looking for the tiger. Sometimes days or even weeks went by between its intrusive actions, yet somehow the tiger had succeeded in always being there. Eventually, the tiger's existence became a part of the lamb's existence. When she tried to explain this to her friends, however, they pointed out that no harm had really befallen her, and that perhaps she was just being too sensitive. So the lamb again tried to put the tiger out of her mind. Why, she said to herself, why should I let my relationship with just one member of the forest ruin my relationships with all the others? But every now and then, usually when she was least prepared, the tiger would give her another start. Finally, the lamb could not take it anymore. She decided that, much as she loved the forest and her friends, more than she had ever loved any other forest or friends, the cost was too great. So she went to the other animals in the woods and said goodbye. Her friends would not hear of it. This is silly, they said. Nothing has happened. You're still in one piece. You must remember that a tiger is a tiger, they repeated. Surely this is the nicest forest in the world. We really like you very much. We would be very sad if you left. Though it must be admitted that several of the animals were wondering what the lamb might be doing to contribute to the tiger's aggressiveness. Then said two of the animals in the friendly forest, surely this whole thing can be worked out. We're all reasonable here. Stay calm. There's probably just some misunderstanding that can be easily resolved if we all sit down together and communicate. The lamb, however, had several misgivings about such a meeting. First of all, if her friends had explained away the tiger's behavior by saying it was simply a tiger's nature to behave that way, why did they now think that as a result of communication, the tiger would be able to change that nature? Second, thought the lamb, such meetings, well-intentioned as they might be, usually try to resolve problems through compromise. Now, while the tiger might agree to growl less, and indeed might succeed in reducing some of its aggressive behavior, what would she, the lamb, be expected to give up in return? Be more accepting of the tiger's growling? There was something wrong, thought the lamb, with a notion that an agreement is equal if the invasive creature agrees to be less invasive and the invaded one agrees to tolerate some invasiveness. She tried to explain this to her friends, but, being reasonable animals, they assured her that the important thing was to keep communicating. Perhaps the tiger didn't understand the ways of a lamb. Don't be so sheepish, they said. Speak up strongly when it does these things. Though one of the less subtle animals in the forest, more uncouth in expression and unconcerned about just who remained, was overheard to remark, I never heard of anything so ridiculous. If you want a lamb and a tiger to live in the same forest, don't try to make them communicate. You cage the bloody tiger. All right, I just love that story. That's marvelous. Won't explain that parable, that fable. That's for you to take and for you to apply on whatever level, personally, familially, organizationally, nationally, globally, that you may choose to so interpret and apply it. So let it speak. And cage the bloody tiger. Oh, what a punchline. I love the fact that in the kingdom of God, in the picture of Isaiah chapter 11, the lamb lies down with a lion. Maybe that Hebraic background with Edmund Friedman, maybe that's what spoke to him, inspiring this. Natures must change. Okay, darn it, I'm interpreting. Okay, all right, there we go. Stopping now. I'm in Coeur d'Alene. So you all have a great week. See you on the flip side. We'll pick up, theoretically, with a statement of faith. So there we go. Take care, folks.